Hello, this video is titled "The Individual Cured from the Propagandist's Propaganda Matrix," something like that. Anyway, like, not it's not something from me that's trying to be like they are, and it's a projection thing. I just want to, if people just live the life without all this power tripping from the propaganda matrix, that would be fine with me. That would be so much progress. I can see that collectively there's got to be some takedown of them. I don't mean a violent revolution, just seeing through them, just something like the Green Party offer, where it goes down, it's decentralised to local assemblies and stuff, and I want the news media decentralised as well, of course. But that's collective, and the individual can be cured, I think. Some people never get involved because their families and so on don't ever go on about this stuff, see through it naturally, so it's already cured. It's cured from birth practically for some people are that lucky. But for those that have consumed it, validated it, they're entangled in the spider's web, no doubt about it. The propaganda matrix, well, no, let's look at the newspapers as an example. So there's something specific we're looking at here. Pull out something specific from the propaganda matrix. Then after I've done that, I'll get to the cure. So these newspapers, right, they exist for themselves. No one likes them. They're one of the national ones, not local. Those that do like them, the minority, are not thinking for themselves. They are being told what to think. Only a minority buy papers and approach them. Only a minority who buy papers actually approach the papers they buy with a critical mindset, with some critical analysis. Only a minority. Now, some do, and they'll be offended if I just generalise that everyone who buys newspapers just gets told what to think, don't think for themselves. They have to be told how to think, what to think, blah, blah, etc., etc., etc. What has to be told what not to think about, in effect, and what to think about, and get it drilled into them with a bit of repetition. And some people aren't buying it for that reason, but others are. And what about the ones who buy for reading the politics in particular? Now, also, hardly anyone likes the billionaire-owned news media, the way they are owned. Not just Murdoch, also for the billionaire-owned other newspapers as well. They don't like that type of ownership. Now, here's the point. When was the last time you saw a newspaper discuss that? A national one, not a local one, a national. They just won't do it. Suspicious, isn't it? They'll never print this stuff, will they? They'll never do it. And why not? Because it's the truth. And they are not into the truth. They are into propaganda. They are propagandists. They aren't interested in truth. They are interested in themselves and their cartel. They are interested in their own power. So, if they did report the truth, that would be to report that they are self-serving and exist for themselves. It would be a confession that they might as well go out of business, because they would be reporting that they're unpopular, disliked, their ownership is thought of as disgrace, and, just in general, they're not trusted, they're disliked, because of all that reason. People trust the local news more because they're not propagandist. People don't get any sense from them that there's any propaganda going on here. Right, but like I said, they won't report it. They won't report that stuff. It's part of their emissions propaganda. The major part of their emissions propaganda is omit stories about ourselves that make us look bad. So you're dealing with basically liars. This is deceitful to do that. That is factually deceitful. It's just what they are. So, like, why would you want that? They're just existing for themselves. It's part of the proof. It's part of the proof that they exist for themselves when they'll only say good things about themselves and never say bad things about themselves. Billionaire ownership, never mention it. You've probably never got the Sun, News of the World, the Daily Mail saying that Bernard is a billionaire because it doesn't sound good for them. So they don't say it. They want to lie to you and make you think different things than are true. That is what lying and deceit is. They need to go. They've got a history of scandal, and now they're lying about their ownership by never admitting it, never admitting it's unpopular, never admitting they're biased, never admitting a damn thing. Right. So with all that unquestionably sorted, it's undoubted. And it's also undoubted, like I said at the start, that they just tell their readers what to think. So not only do the readers unfortunately get sucked into that, it is deliberate. It is a deliberate propaganda. Newspapers know exactly what they're doing. I wouldn't do a newspaper like that. I want readers to know the truth and to be critical and to think themselves. But that's not the way our news media think. And you ask anyone who works there, they admit this stuff in open conversation. They know the difference because they've been through uni and stuff as well. They're not daft. Right, so with all that in mind, what is the sensible thing to do? What is the sensible thing to do? If it's all narrative propaganda, the answer is to dump the narrative that they pump out there. Yeah, they do fart it out as well. And thus melt the propaganda. This can be done at individual level. Also, it's not being non-political to do this. What it is taking up a more real sociological perspective. Now, just one criticism of my own sociological perspective is the risk that they do what power has always done when it's replaced power and just grasped it and grabbed it for themselves and then just being just as evil. That is a serious risk. I don't deny that for 1 second. My answer to it, though, without denying it, is that what should be done is something like what the Greens suggest, which is that mass decentralisation of power from Westminster to local assemblies, etc. I've come up with an idea of people's courts myself, but I'm happy to go along with the Greens' local assemblies and more devolved powers for local regions. And I just think that answers that problem. Oh yeah, I was going to say, and I also apply this decentralisation of power from the billionaire-owned news media to local news media, because there's not an excess power, in my view, in local TV and local newspapers. I can't say that there's never any corruption there, but there's so little compared to the top that's an acceptable top level of power. And I would be happy, very, very happy with that. So what we arrive at here for the cure for the individual, because the individual cannot do that decentralization of power, is that they never use the establishment, the establishments, the state superstructures, the propaganda matrices. You never use their narratives, because what their ingredients, their terms. Because once you do, I just think there's no way out of it. You're just caught in it completely. You can plan to use these words more sensibly and stuff, but it just gets you sucked right back in there. It's you have to remember the propaganda matrix is not dumb. Not only is it not dumb, it's not average. It's not like, oh, well, it's in the middle of intelligent and dumb. It is extremely smart. It's very, very smart. It's existed for centuries. So it's not dumb. It's extremely smart. It just lacks a conscience. So don't try and be clever. Instead, don't use their terms at all. Don't use their terms at all. You might as well be bloody well casting a spell using them terms. You're against yourself. It's just terrible. Never refer to the national newspapers again. Nor refer to the national TV news. Never refer to Tory, Labour, right, left, centre, and ditto of the American stuff. It's too close to the British. Don't refer to Democrat, Republican. So once you've gotten rid of all them terms, someone might come back, challenge you and say, hang on a minute, are you just totally nuking politics on your head? The sociological perspective's more true. This stuff's bullshit. This stuff's bullshit anyway. Shouldn't be discussing it. Whereas the sociological perspective is true, where you talk about how the society functions from day to day, such as looking at, if there was there's a program on the Glasgow train station, Glasgow Central City Station. It's not boring. It's not quite as boring as you would think it would be, and it shows how the world really works there. Just that one particular example. The way it's like the people who work there will get them trains running, and whatever. When there's someone, for instance, sick, can't work, so can't, like a train driver getting someone else and blah, 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 get back going again. So that's an obvious example because I'm not some kind of train station operating expert. So there's a proper example, though. That's a good one. Also, more importantly, still thinking about how capitalists control everything through using their money to get exactly what they want for society, and I guess you have to be careful. It gets it back into the propaganda matrix, but and like Ayala Husser and Gramsci kind of stuff is correct. I'm worried that they would take over as a power grab, but nevertheless, their analysis of society is totally spot on. The way they talk about how it's all propaganda that props up the capitalist state. So you've got the capitalists, and you've got the propagandists, and the workers' one cartel. And then if all that came crashing down because everyone saw through it, they'd have the military out there against us. So it's this sociological, it's related to all the stuff, but it's getting to the truth rather than being bogged down in the politics deflections. The politics stuff's all bullshit because that's all the deflection stuff. That's all. When we talk about the propaganda, that's all of it. So don't feed the wild animal. Just talk about it theoretically. Oh, what's truth? It's the truth. It's propaganda. So you just mention the propaganda, mention the military, mention the news media, and all this stuff, and mention. If you want to talk more positively, you can talk about the potential of the working class and students, and teachers, lecturers, health workers, the middle class all coming together and sorting it all out. But I think that you have to be careful of power grab. So that's why when I read the sociologists talking about how it's potentially solved, I'm always going to bring in now the Green Party thing that it must be decentralised. Because I was saying that anyway for months. All my videos I say that it must be decentralised power, otherwise it's a power grab. But I now point to, well, look, what they're saying now is totally sensible. What the green idea of local assemblies. I would say people's courts can have them as well. I don't care really, just as long as you get rid of the excess power. There's no game planning, enough fetishes for particular exact policies, just as long as we get rid of the evil. That's basically all it's bothered about. So, it's more about getting rid of the evil for me than anything else. But once you got rid of the evil, I can't see how you're going to get back to stuff that requires so much propaganda to sustain the kind of society they want. If their society was so bloody well liked by everyone, then you wouldn't need a propaganda matrix. You wouldn't need billionaires pouring money in. You wouldn't need all of that megaphone stuff. You wouldn't need all of that. So it's pretty clear to me that an absolute megaphone, billionaire news media pumps stuff out to millions of people is and it's still relatively seen through despite all that. So I would say, can you imagine what would happen if you took the megaphones away? Well, I think I think it would go straight away. It just looks like it can't sustain itself without propaganda. A system that requires propaganda backed up by military is it's not wanted by people. Quite clearly, absolutely despised. So I say, if it said, "Oh no, we could do well without that," I say, "Well, go on then, come on then, get rid of it all then." You know what I mean? So like the one, because they do need it. We're just the same as totalitarian states. We're exactly the same. We've just got a different spin. So because they won't do it, and we would, I would bloody well not have all that stuff. I have no chance in a billion years. Whole lot of propaganda in order to prop my ideas up. No chance. If my ideas are so bad, I want them to be seen to be so bad. I don't want to prop them up with propaganda and armies and tanks and guns. I want my ideas to be tested and fail if they are useless. If they're useless, no problem. Don't want them backed up by an army of propagandists and an army of tanks or whatever. So no, I'm not a hypocrite on this at all. So we get rid of the propaganda matrix, and then what is there? What is there? After you get rid of the propaganda matrix, all that's left is truth. People being what people are, not being what they are brainwashed to be, not being divisive because this one system wants to give people a feeling of free speech, so it gives you these conflicts that don't harm them, that don't harm the state superstructure, don't harm the propaganda matrix, but do harm the masses. None of that is necessary. None of that's necessary. Rid of the propaganda and live like sane, peaceful, civilized human beings. Just going about their everyday life without being shoved a mountain of effing bullshit into their heads every single day. It can be done, but we need as individuals first to see through it ourselves, stop consuming it, stop validating it, because you're consuming evil, you're validating evil, you're causing social strife and social problems, you're brainwashed, you're not thinking for yourself, you're just brainwashed. Get rid of the propaganda matrix once and for all and tell it to never effing come back again. Never, ever, ever bring back your evil to our heads. That's the end of the video.